Okay, ladies and gentlemen, today we have a topic that is meant for the Muslims to answer. This guy, he adapted it from the Answering Islam, Jesus is God. From David D. said, Answering Islam, Jesus is God's post. Okay? Let me try to answer as according to my knowledge. Okay, my knowledge is not deep enough, but enough to answer these questions. Okay, question number 1: why do you bow down and pray towards a black idol rock called the Kaaba 5 times a day? Can I just go one by one? Okay, never mind. Let's just read the whole question first. Why do you make special pilgrimages towards the black stone idol Kaaba and circle it so many times and kiss it? We don't kiss the Kaaba, we kiss they kiss the Hajar Aswad, okay, which is the meteorite that fell down from heaven. Do you think Allah is trapped in there? Did you know that Muhammad's pagan ancestors did the same thing around the Kaaba and had erected the idol gods all around it? Okay, there are first part, pray 5 times a day, and then second part is the pilgrimage, and the third part is the following what the footsteps of the ancestors. Okay, why do Muslim bow down and pray towards Kaaba? Okay, first and foremost, Kaaba is the house of God, so to speak. Okay, the house of God, just like the temple of God in Jerusalem. Okay, so which both of them were destroyed, and then this is the third temple of God, or we rather call it the house of God. Okay, it's not literal house of God. Okay, it's a metaphorically house of God. God does not sit inside there. Okay, first, Kaaba is not an idol because we don't worship the Kaaba. The Kaaba is just a direction of prayer. Muhammad used to pray towards Jerusalem before he decided to pray towards Mecca, because the Jews were already praying towards Jerusalem. So he want to differentiate the Jews and the Muslim, so that the Muslim will pray towards the in Mecca, Kaaba, and then the Jews will remain praying towards the Temple Mount. Is it the Temple Mount at Jerusalem? So why do we bow down? Okay, bow down and pray because even Jesus bowed down and pray at the Garden of Gethsemane. If you can remember how he prayed fervently to his God. Remember, Jesus is not God. How can a God pray to himself bowing down? So Jesus bowed down in prayer to God to deliver him from the cup, to pass away the cup. You know what the cup means? Supposedly supposed to be the crucifixion. Okay, so Jesus prayed by bowing down onto the ground. So we as Muslim, we follow the way of Jesus. Since Jesus prayed by bowing down to the ground, we follow by bowing down to the ground. Okay, and we pray 5 times a day, because if you read somewhere in John 10:40, I think John 10:40, God wants you to pray to him. It is God requires you to pray to Him because He is God. He wants everybody to pray to Him. And then why 5 times a day? Because Muhammad was brought up to the throne of the God to receive this special commandment. That's why I find it, some Christians, they don't know anything about Islam. They say the Quran never give any new message. No new message. Okay, this is the new message. Pray 5 times a day is the new commandment, the new covenant. Okay, so I hope I have answered the first part, why the Muslim pray by bowing down to the Kaaba. And the thing is that the Kaaba is not an idol. We don't worship that black rock. In our heart we mention Allah, the God. And Allah is not a name. Allah is not a moon god. I find it rather ridiculous that the Christian believe blatantly and blindly that Allah is actually the moon god. Allah is just like Pharaoh. Okay, it's a title. Allah is a title. Allah means the God. And then since the pagan Arabs worship the moon, they call the moon the god. The moon has his own name in Arabic, which I think is Safar. Safar is the moon. So Safarillah, then is the meaning of moon god. But Allah is a title, just like Pharaoh. There were so many Pharaoh by their own names. So Allah is just a title, just like Pharaoh is a title. Just like King is a title. King is not a name, okay? But Lord is a name. Lord is the name of the God, okay? And why do we make special pilgrimage? Of course, that is the house of God. Everybody once in his lifetime want to visit the house of God, metaphorically house of God. There is no God inside there, okay? Just as paying homage to it, you want to feel it. Oh, this is really the house of God. Oh, sorry. And did you know that Muhammad pagan ancestor did the same thing? Yes, of course, because accordingly the Kaaba was originally built by Adam, but it was somehow destroyed along the way, and then Abraham was asked to rebuild the Kaaba with Ishmael. So after a long period of time, they have forgotten the monotheism of Abraham God. Then the pagan took over the place and placed inside the Kaaba 360 idols. Okay, so that is the history of the Kaaba. Just in case you have learned the history of Kaaba from the Christian apologists, if you want to know the real Islam, learn from Islamic source. Don't learn Islam from Christian apologists. Okay, that is a very big mistake. Okay, because the Christian apologists, they have some vested interest to protect the church. And as you know it, church has a very good income system, the tithe system. Okay, maybe they rely on their livelihood in the tithe system, so that they have to protect the church interest. Okay, so if you really want to learn Islam, learn from Islamic sources. Okay, just like I learn my Christianity from Bible scholars and pastors. I don't learn from imam. Those they can twist and turn. That's why I don't learn from them. I learn from the root of the source of the information, the knowledge. Okay, I hope I have already answered question number 1. Now question number 2. Why is the moon symbol so prevalent in Islam? Why is there a half moon crescent on every mosque? Did you know that before converting to Islam, Muhammad and his ancestors worshipped a moon god called Allah? Again, this is a very big mistake. Allah does not mean moon god. They worship the moon and call it Allah. But Allah is not the moon. You understand or not? So I hope you understand. This is simple English, very straightforward. And why is the symbol of a crescent moon, not half moon? It's a half moon, crescent moon. Basically, crescent moon means the birth of the beginning of the month. So it's just like a new life. And then it's moon because moon lights up the whole world in the night. The moon light up the darkness. You see? So I hope now you know why Islam chose the moon, because the moon light up the darkness in the night. Okay? I hope I have answered, satisfy you. And let me reiterate that Allah is not the moon god. Every time I see this, I laugh. Question number 3. Did you know that Muhammad's full name was Abu al-Qasim Muhammad ibn Abdullah? Abdullah basically Ibn Abdul al-Muttalib Ibn Hashim Ibn whatever Ibn. Okay, we are not interested in the ancestor's name. Okay, we are interested in the messenger. The name Muhammad, basically, if you translate it into English, Muhammad means the praised one. Okay, the praised one. That is his English name, the praised one. Okay, Muhammad. Before he became a Muslim, Ibn is basically in Jews. For Jews is Ben, B-E-N, Ben. This is Ibn, means slave of Allah. Actually, basically, Abdullah means servant of Allah. Is servant and slave the same? I think servant has a better status than slave, correct or not? So basically, Abdullah means the servant of Allah, which was his name before he came across this demonic jinn in a cave who was this Allah from Muhammad's pagan ancestry. Who was this Allah from Muhammad's pagan ancestry? Like I say, Allah literally means the God. Okay, the God. They just combine two words into one. Okay, to make it easy in terms of spelling. Otherwise, you have to write A-L and then space L-A-H or I-L-A-H or L-L-A-H. So they just combine it to make it easy to write in English. Okay. So I hope I have satisfied you with question number 3. Muhammad's name in English means the praised one. And then the next question, you might want to know, why is he the praised one? It's very simple. Because every Muslim, at the mentioning of the name of Muhammad, everyone was give their blessings unto Muhammad. And then the next thing that you are going to say is, how can we give blessings to Muhammad? We are not God. We are not God, but we have the Spirit of God according to Jesus. The Spirit of God is in every one of us. Okay? In fact, Jesus is the Spirit of God. And we have the Spirit of God in us. That doesn't mean Jesus is in us. Okay? In order to be alive, we need the Spirit of God that makes us alive. Okay? because when God created Adam, the next thing he breathed the soul. The soul is God's spirit. God put his spirit into Adam, and then Adam was enlivened by the spirit of God. Okay, I hope. And then the jinn, this demonic jinn. Okay, of course you can say it's a demon, but actually if you were to study Isaiah 29:12, it says the book will be revealed to the one who is unlearned, the unlearned prophet in Isaiah 29:12. That means you have the prophecy about an unlearned person receiving some revelation. Okay, but of course you can deny it. Oh no, never mention the name Muhammad, never mention anything. Okay, but the fact that he was an unlearned prophet, that itself justified that it was to be Muhammad. Okay, and then how can the demonic jinn tell Muhammad, oh come on dude, come over here, I want you to recite in the name of your Lord, in the name of the Lord, recite. Would the demon do that? Maybe yes. Maybe he want to deceive Muhammad. He pretend to be the good angel. Okay, maybe yes, and obviously no, because in the end part before the departure, the demonic jinn declared himself as Gabriel. Of course, anybody can declare himself as Gabriel. Okay, but then there was the prophecy about it. That means it has to come to pass. So Muhammad was the unlearned, unlettered prophet in Isaiah 29:12. Question number 4. If adultery was forbidden by the Old Testament Jewish law of Moses and was punishable by death, then how come Muhammad wasn't stoned to death for committing adultery with his many sex slaves that he caught in battle? The most famous one being Maria the Cup. He even fathered an illegitimate son by her. Okay, back then, the law of that time was that your own slave, when you caught and you get some slave, the slave belongs to you. That means you can do anything to the slave, including sex. Okay, you want to argue about that? This is like 14,000 years ago. The culture was as such. Okay, you have access to the slave. The slave is rightfully yours, including having sex. So it is not an adultery because the slave belongs to you. Unless you had sex with another person's slave, then it is the wrong thing to do, and that is adultery. Okay, suppose my slave is Mary, but I want to have sex with my neighbor's slave called Joanna. That my relationship with Joanna would be adultery, but my sexual relationship with my own slave is not. Okay, those were the law at that time. At that time, even alcohol was not yet forbidden. It was only later part then it was forbidden. That means alcohol was still halal until the command came, which is much later. So I hope I have answered you, number 4. Now number 5. How come Muhammad only allowed his men to marry up to 4 wives, but he himself, being a special prophet, could marry more, up to 11 or 14, and he also had countless sex slaves in his harem. Okay, I have already discussed to you that slaves are halal for the owner of the slave at that time. Okay, so how come Muhammad only allowed his men to marry up to 4? This is not a commandment. The actual verse is like, if you wait, let me recall. You can marry 1 or 2 or up to 4 if you can be fair to all of them. That is the real message. That doesn't mean, oh, you can only marry 4. No, we still can marry as many as we want, as long as we can deal with them fairly, treat them equally, give them the amount of money every month equally, treat them nicely equally, must be equal. If you can't, then try to limit to 4. But if you can't, just limit to 1. That is the real message. But of course, if you listen to the Christian apologists, they will twist and turn and to make Muhammad looks bad. Okay, they are perverse in twisting ambiguous verses. Okay, just like how they have introverted and extroverted, whatever the word is in the Bible verses, they will twist and turn the Bible's own ambiguous verses and words. These are the perverted priests. Okay, you must stay away from them. So one of the many reasons why Muhammad married more, in fact most of his wives were actually either divorcee or their husband died in battle. You just have to marry them, give them shelter, give them protection. At that time Muhammad was the king, the caliph, so he had some property, so he can afford to marry 11 or 14 wives, and he can do justice to all of them. But if you can't, then just marry 1. That is the real message of the Quran. Okay, question number 6. Why did Allah curse Muhammad by not giving him any living biological sons? Muhammad's biological son died at a young age. Was it because Muhammad had him when he committed adultery with the sex slave Maria the Copt? There are many reasons to this, and then it could also be the blessing in disguise. If you can see, even Jesus has no son. Okay, why do you think Jesus has no son? Or you think he will have son later in his second coming? Okay, first and foremost, maybe to me, this is my personal opinion, my personal view, not from any hadith or whatever. There's a reason that God doesn't want Muhammad son offspring to have a further lineage. There is a reason for it. One of the reasons is because maybe God doesn't want people to get obsessed with Muhammad lineage. Sometimes people follow, they become pervert, become so obsessed, and then they become like idol worshipper to their sons. Whatever it is, this is what I think. Okay, and then it could be a blessing in disguise too. I think that he should not have a son lineage downwards. That's only God knows what's the real reason. Okay, I hope I have answered you. It's not a curse. There could be a blessing in disguise in this thing. Number 7. Why did Muhammad convince his one and only adopted son Zaid to divorce his beautiful and young wife Zainab, so that he, Muhammad, could marry her for herself? To divorce her? Why did Muhammad? Did Muhammad? I heard, but when sometimes hadiths are fabrications. The enemies of Islam wouldn't sit still. They will do anything to defame Muhammad. Okay, but there's one valid reason for this case, because Zaid is not his biological son. You cannot marry your biological son ex-wife. That's the moral of the story. You can never marry your own son's ex-wife. You cannot. That is the law. But you can marry your adopted son, because your adopted son is not your biological son. So I hope. So it also serves as a case study, a model for the next generation to come, so that you can marry your adopted son ex-wife, but not your biological son's ex-wife. You cannot marry that. Okay, I hope I have answered the number 7. Number 8. When Muhammad realized what a scandal he had caused by marrying his daughter-in-law Zainab, why did Muhammad then claim that Allah told him it's okay? Because Allah said that adopted son is no longer valid in Islam. No, was this a case of Muhammad yet again abusing his position as a prophet? No, like I told you as in the answer in number 7, it is to give the future generation a case study, okay, so that Muhammad became the guinea pig for this case, for this scenario, that you can marry your adopted son ex-wife, okay, but not your own son. You cannot marry your own son ex-wife. Number 9. If Muhammad was so great, then how come he did not heal any sick, blind, or disabled people like Jesus Christ did? How come Muhammad killed and raped more people than he healed? Wow. There is an allegation. Allegation is an abomination when you have no proof. Okay, but never mind. Let me answer the first part. If Muhammad was so great, Muhammad is not great in miracle, because Muhammad was not a miracle type of prophet like Moses and Jesus. And then why Jesus can heal sick, blind, and whatever? Because Jesus is the Spirit of God. Ruh Allah. Muhammad is the messenger of God. Rasulullah. Different. Ruh Allah has that's what Allah said in the Quran, we strengthen Jesus with our Holy Spirit. That means Jesus can do what God can do. That's why Jesus is named Ruh Allah, the Spirit of God. And then That's why Jesus was the first creation that God made. God himself is a God, so he created a spirit called Jesus. So Jesus became the Spirit of God. And then God endowed him with all the magic, all the power, all the miracle. That's why Jesus can do what God can do. That's why Jesus said, whoever had seen me had seen the Father. Jesus is saying, whatever I am doing exactly what the Father can do, because I am the Spirit of God. Okay? So I hope I have answered you. And then Muhammad is not the Spirit of God. Muhammad is the messenger of God, Rasulullah. Jesus is the Ruh Allah. Number 10. Why did Muhammad claim that Satan was whispering in his ear when he tried to convince the Arab pagans to convert to Islam by telling them that Allah had 3 daughters just like the pagan moon god Allah? If Muhammad claimed that Satan and demons were whispering in his ears, how do you know they didn't deceive him at other times? Okay, maybe this is the only one time that Muhammad was duped by Satan, because Satan know that Gabriel has been coming down to him often, but when Satan realized, sometimes the Gabriel also don't really come to him, so let me come and approach him pretending to be Gabriel. So Muhammad thought that anything that is revealed is from Gabriel. Okay, so being a human, obviously he had some flaw. To error is human, okay, to make mistake. So Muhammad was only a human, okay. I hope you can forgive him for that. Nobody is free from sin, okay, including Jesus. If you think that Jesus is sinless, try read the infancy gospel of Jesus, okay. He actually murdered one boy, okay, for his sin. How can he murder a boy? Why Muhammad never, question 11, why Muhammad never learned to read and write so that he could write his own Quran in his dark room? He can write his own Quran. I can write whatever I want. Nobody witness me. Did you see the point? Nobody witnessed him writing the Quran. That's the reason God chose an unlearned prophet who couldn't read, who couldn't write, but gave him the revelation so that he recite it to his fellow followers, so that his fellow followers became witnesses to the revelation. Unlike Paul wrote most of his epistles in Arabia. When Jesus had give a stern warning that do not go forth, or behold, he is in the desert. The only desert that we know is Arabia. And then Paul went to Arabia and wrote all his epistles. Correct or not? It's only on his way back from Arab to Damascus, then he encountered the holy Jesus, whom nobody had seen but only heard the voice. Right? That, my brother, is a jinn, a false Jesus. Remember, Jesus said false Christ will also appear and then deceive the very elect. Remember? Paul was an elect and he got deceived by that. Okay? Why couldn't he teach himself to read and write? Why Allah didn't grant him this gift spontaneously? Like I said, if he can read and write his own Quran, nobody witnessed the revelation which was spanning for 23 years. Paul can write it in 23 days, and then nobody witnessed his revelation. Nobody witnessed, only he, and God knows it. Okay, there's a reason for everything. Okay, even Jesus said, you need at least 2 or 3 witnesses so that your case is strong. That's the reason God chose an unlearned, unlettered prophet, so that there will be many witnesses to the revelation, and then the witness himself will write the revelation, not the one that is given the revelation unto. Then number 12 is the last one, and then this is the main weapon that the Christian apologists will always use. Okay, but I tell you, there are 2 stories regarding his death. One, that he was poisoned, as in this case, and then the other one was because he had high fever. Maybe because of this poison, I also don't know, we also don't know. But of course, people can make story. Okay, my last and final question: why did Allah kill off his last and favorite prophet by cutting off his aorta? First and foremost, do you know what is an aorta? The aorta is inside your heart. How can you cut off an aorta? You cannot cut an aorta, but you can cut the artery from that aorta. Okay, that's why there are translation that you can use for and use against it in the Quran. Did Muhammad displease Allah with his lies and deceits? Is Muhammad a condemned man now, doomed to spend an eternity in hell? The Quran says, and if he, this is a translation by Muhsin Khan, which is, I never read his translation before, but I have his translation. My first Quran translation was by Yusuf Ali. The reason why I like Yusuf Ali, because Yusuf Ali write in Old English, just like the King James Version Bible is in Old English. I like Old English because I studied literature during school time, and I love Old English type of writing. And if Muhammad had forged a false saying concerning us, we surely should have seized him by his right hand, or with power and might, and then certainly should have cut off his life artery. Bracket aorta. See, I tell you, you cannot cut an aorta. Aorta is inside the heart, but you can cut the artery that coming out from the heart. Might as well he say, I cut off his heart, correct or not? By the aorta. Why is the aorta thing? Sometime after Muhammad ate poisoned meat and dying, he exclaimed, narrated Isa, the prophet in his ailment in which he died used to say, "Oh Isa, I still feel the pain caused by the food I ate in Kaiba, and at this time I feel as if my aorta is being cut from that poison." So the poison can cut the aorta. The aorta serve as a opening and closing of the valve in your heart. Okay, but then I give you the other translation by Yusuf Ali and Pickthall. Pickthall is my second Quran translation that I have read. So I am very familiar with Yusuf Ali and Piqtal. Let me just open up that Quran translation. Okay, here it is. 69:44. Okay, let us read by Piqtal. We will just go through together. Piqtal. And if he had invented false sayings concerning us, Yusuf Ali say, and if the messenger were to invent any sayings in our name, you see how different the writing is? And Piqtal said, we assuredly had taken him by the right hand. Yusuf Ali said, we should certainly seize him by his right hand. You know, the word seize is stronger than we assuredly had taken him by right hand. You see? And 46, and then severed his life artery. You see? Life artery. You cannot cut off the aorta. The aorta is basically the heart. And we should certainly then cut off the artery of his heart. That's why I love Yusuf Ali translation. I really love Yusuf Ali translation. Very accurate. Okay? So now I ask you. Okay, I just take your words that Muhammad ate the poison and then died, and then he said, oh, my heart is actually pain. Then it feels like my aorta had been cut off. So it happened to coincide with the Quran revelation. And then the Christian very happy. Oh, clap their hand. They see Muhammad was the false prophet. Muhammad was the false prophet. Okay. Now, I ask you, between Muhammad and Paul, if you can remember how Paul died, okay, Paul literally had his life artery. Life artery means, what is life artery? Artery that gives blood to the whole body. But what is the impact of the life artery? The most important organ of the life artery is the life artery to the brain. So Paul, the Apostle Paul, literally had his head beheaded. Literally cut off the life artery from the heart to the brain. Paul was beheaded. Paul was beheaded, my friend. Your favorite apostle, Paul, the one that teach you the man-made doctrines that Jesus died for your salvation, that Jesus died for your atonement of your sin, that you don't have to follow Moses' law anymore because Jesus had already died for you. Then you don't have to do any ritual. You don't have to pray to God. See, it was a stark invention from Muhammad. So that verse, Quran Surah 69 44 to 46, legitimately referring to the Apostle Paul. Remember in Yusuf Ali it says, if any of our messenger were to invent falsehood in our name, Paul invented falsehood in the name of God. If you don't believe me, you should check Romans 7 19 to 21. Romans 7 19 to 21, and read it for yourself. Why he invented falsehood? Who was behind him giving the inspiration to Paul? It was the devil the evil spirit that is in him, that always commanded him to write falsehood. So I hope I have answered you. This is quite very interesting topic. I answer according to what I know. I'm not a scholar. I happen to be just a fanatic, not a really fanatic in that sense. I am very passionate in telling the truth, whatever the truth. To you, Jesus is God is the truth. But to me, Jesus is not God is the truth. Okay? Okay, thank you very much.